and he wore really tight jeans. And he was built like a bull rider should be built. And he was a real working cowboy on the ranch down in Spur, Texas. And I decided he was the one. And you know, it's so funny to me. Many of you knew Jim Williams from Fort Worth. He used to say if you lined 10 pretty girls up against the wall, he'd pick the sickest one every time. I said to him one time, Jim, you never got it. The sickest one on that wall took one step forward. Which reminds me, I've heard this several times, you know, alcoholics do think that. They think they pick the sickest one. They think they throw all this pain and misery on those poor, innocent Alanons. That's, you know, that's what most of them think, and a lot of them go with guilt with that. And I beg to differ. There is a, see, there goes the phone. I love it. They have told you, don't turn them off, turn them off, turn them off, turn them off. Nobody listens to you. There's always phones going off. I just love to see which kind the rings are. There's the doctor's opinion. There's a line in there that says, alcoholics are in full flight from reality. They are outright, listen to this, outright mental defects. And I'm the pretty girl on the wall taking one step forward. Come get me. And if you try to leave me, I am on your leg. There is no blame here whatsoever. But I got this cowboy, and we're doing the dance, we're doing the thing. And one night he's poking me in the chest, and I take an empty quart beer bottle, I bust it over his head. He goes to his knees, I run, he catches me, spins me around. He said, I think we should get married. Sandwiches in the middle of the sandwiches for him to take would be a sweet little note wrapped up cut in wax paper. So when he took it out, he'd know what's going to happen tonight. And I mean, I was full-fledged woman. And it worked for 6 days. I gave this cowboy a son. Of course I did him a son. And you know what happened after that? You know, 6 days later, the same thing that's happened that's been happening to me my whole life. He's gone. Charlie came by on Friday night. He didn't come home until Sunday. I'm standing at the window, and I'm looking up and down the street. There's pickups, and there's cars, and the lights are out, and it's 2 a.m. And I'm looking, and I'm saying, where is he? Why am I standing here? What is wrong with me? Why is everybody else's husband at home? Why are the other kids happy and playing in their yard? What's wrong with me? My kids weren't happy. They didn't play in the yard. They stayed back in their room, either hiding from me or me making them stay back there, because I didn't know what to do with those kids. They were in my way. Do you understand me? They were in my way. I have to watch. I have to look. I have to plot, I have to plan, I have to see what he's doing, what is he saying. I have to look at his shirt collar, I have to go look in the pickup in the ashtrays. I have to see who he's talking to, I have to sneak around, I have to look in this, you know, I have to look in the checkbook, how much money is, where's he doing, is he coming home, where's he going, who's his friends, what are they doing, what are they saying? I couldn't figure out why he didn't want to come home. Dancing 2 bars with him. I sat out there with him, and then I wouldn't go with him. So he would see he'd miss me. I'd keep the kids away from him. I'd run away from home. I'd come back home. If he didn't start the violence, I did. I threw things at him. I tried to run over him in a car. I threw hammers at him. I used butcher knives, and I chased him. My kids would be screaming, please don't do that. Let me tell you, in one of our real books that we used to have a long time ago that they've changed and discontinued, but a real book of Alanon said, alcoholics are known to marry some of the meanest women in the world. And I was one of them. I was as crazy as you can get. There is no blame in alcoholism. I mean, it's alcoholism, it's Alanonism. That's what it is. Why would people ask me, why do you stay with him? People ask him, why do you drink? They ask me, why do you stay with him? Well, let me tell you, I am not staying with him as soon as the kids get out of school, I'm leaving him. As soon as I get the car paid off, I'm leaving. Well, as soon as I get some money put up, and the truth is, I did not know why I stayed with him. I have no idea. I know I could not leave him. And there was violence there. There was the soul sickness of alcoholism was all over me and my children. And I could not leave. I had no family left. I had no friends left. I had nothing. He was gone, and if he came in, it was just, I would just grab the edge of the bed, play like I was asleep, until he would start snoring. Then I'd get up and walk in the kitchen, go in the den. What's wrong with me? Sneak out the pickup, see if there's some blonde hair in there. No blondes. Blondes have been the bane of my existence. At least real ones. One Thursday, I'm sitting in that chair and I'm rocking. And there's nothing left. And y'all know what I'm saying. If you're alcoholic, you're alcoholic, you know what I'm saying. There is nothing left. There's nothing. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing to do. I am as so sick as you get. I had 2 black eyes. I had a busted lip. My kids were very quiet in the back room. My husband was working out of town. He was coming in the next day. I was done. If I could have committed suicide, I would have. But I had 2 kids and was nobody to take them. And I was done. Now, this is one of those coincidences that I have no explanation for. I got up and I picked up the yellow pages and I dialed this number. And I did that because a few months earlier in Ann Landers, I read this article. A lady wrote in that her husband was drunk. And what should she do? And I thought that Ann Landers said, call Alcoholics Anonymous. And I looked it up and I made this call. And this man answered, and I told him a few things, and he gave me a number, and I called. This woman said, come over. I went over to her house. He was a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And she said, she talked to me. Her husband came in. He sat and he talked to me. And they told me about the disease of alcoholism. Now, I don't know why God got me here that way, but he got me here that way. They picked me up. They took me to a Wednesday night meeting at the Central Club. He got out of the car, and I jumped out, and he went to the door of the clubhouse. He opened it, and he stepped back, and he looked at me. And I was looking at him. And I really did not know what he expected, what was going on. And finally, he gestured for me to walk in. The man was a gentleman. He opened the door for me. I didn't know what that meant. I had never been around a gentleman. I'm telling you, the first rattle out of the box when I sat here, I cried. Mark was sitting here. He had a suit on. He looked so handsome. It was time for Candace to get up and talk. And Mark jumped up and he crooked his arm. And Candace took his arm and he escorted her. And Candace is an old hooker. She's an old drunk. And she looked gorgeous in Mark. And that same feeling came over. That man was a gentleman. He was up, and I had never seen that before. And it fills me up. When I see men of Alcoholics Anonymous being gentlemen, it fills me up. Because I'm a slut puppy hoe, and don't treat me like I'm a princess. That happened that night. I walked through and there was two alcoholics and they had a cigarette machine, the kind that you put a quarter in. And pulled, you know, and the cigarette fell out. And each different brand had their little picture of their front of their pack on there. So it was all colors. And they were lit. And the colors were just like a glow. It was on those guys' faces. And they were leaning up, talking to each other, laughing. And I stopped and I looked and I listened. Because they were laughing a laughter that I had not heard in so many years. I had not experienced it. And I just stood there and I was mesmerized by the glow and that crystal clear, genuine laughter. I just stopped and the gentleman edged me on it. That was my introduction. The first rattle out of the box to y'all. I went in and she went in with me. She'd never been to an Alanon meeting before and she had been one since, but she went in and sat down. I had no idea what they said, none. But whatever it was they said, it touched me because I decided to come back. And I've been coming back, like I said, for 39 years now. I found out real quick. There was two doors, and I sat by either one of those doors because I wanted to get out real quick. Because of several reasons. But mainly because they look much like you look today. And I think you'll know what I mean when I say pressed. They were pressed. Their hair was done. The gentlemen had on pressed shirts. And they laughed in there and they talked in there. I didn't hear what they said. I had no idea what they said. I couldn't even tell you. But there was a feeling in that room. One that I was soon to recognize when I read a book called The Prophet by Gibran. And it says, do not say that God's in your heart, but that you are in the heart of God. And I believe that's what happened to me that particular afternoon or evening. I walked into the heart of God and I did not know what it was. And I felt safe and I felt secure because somehow or another, whatever was there, I knew I was going to come back. And I did. I started coming back over and over and over. I'd slip in right at 8 o'clock and I would slip out exactly at 8 a.m. And they were watching me unbeknownst to me. And one went at this door, one went at that door, and before the prayer, and I walked into Pat Plater. She was standing there, and she said something to me. She said, as she said it, she was shocked because it was a little personal. And now we know it was a divine appointment. She said something that only I could understand, only I could hear. The only thing that would make me comfortable enough to talk to her again. And as time went by, I asked her to be my sponsor. And she does that magic, just that magic. There's a dance that goes on here that is just absolutely, I don't even have to tell y'all know what I'm talking about. When your sponsor looks at you and says, get in the car. And her husband, Jack, they just took me into their lives. They just absorbed me and my 2 little kids. They just absorbed us. And he was a gentleman. He helped me with my kids. I had never seen anything like that before. My kids weren't to be sent in the back room. My kids would be sitting down among us and with us. And it was a new adventure for me. I didn't know what to do with my children. I was not a lovey, touchy mother. I did not know what to do with my children. I had no idea. I didn't even think about it most times. They were fed and put to bed and got up and put in the bus to school. I was okay. And for them to start paying attention to him, and he gave them nicknames. He gave me a nickname. It was just magic. It was absolutely magic. We started working the steps. She bought me a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We started reading about the disease of alcoholism. We looked at To the Wise. We read the chapter. We got mad when it says, don't be resentful or don't get angry at them. Well, who wrote this?